Hello, Happiness Abounder, and welcome back. Continuing our discussion today all about people pleasing, I want to dive into checklists because here's the thing. I think that a lot of us may have fallen into a trap of a societal checklist. And if you're like, Taylor, what in the world are you talking about? I want to propose a checklist that maybe you have fallen into. So, to be successful, you must follow a checklist of making sure you graduate from high school with A's, going to college, getting a degree, getting married, buying a house, having children. That's your 5-step checklist. Now go. That will bring you happiness and success. Obviously being a little bit sarcastic here because I think that that's what we've bought into, but that doesn't mean it's the checklist of happiness and success for you. But a lot of us have tended to buy in to that checklist because we want to please the people around us. Now, there is nothing wrong with the profession of being a lawyer or a doctor. I'm not saying that. But how many times have you heard a story of someone saying, yeah, I went to school to be a doctor, or I was going to school to be a lawyer, and I was almost there, like almost finished, or I finished, and I realized this is not what I wanted to do with my life. It happens. But why does it happen with those careers in particular? I think it's because we want to please our parents, or we want to prove that we can make good money, that we can go to school and get an education in a very difficult field. But if it's soul-sucking and you hate it, is it really worth following that checklist? To please other people, to follow the rules of what we think that we should be doing based on what other people have told us. And again, if your dream job is to be a doctor, is to be a lawyer, by all means, follow that for yourself, but make it on your own checklist. But for a lot of individuals, it's like they go to school or they get this decision to do something and it's because it was put in their head by their parents, or it's put in their head that that's where the money is. And small tangent on that for a second. Where you think the money is, sure, there's money there, but that doesn't mean you can't make good money and be successful and be happy in your own life doing things in a way that makes sense for you. But we follow these checklists, and particularly we follow the checklist of going to school. My generation has bought into the idea that if you go to college, you get a degree, then everything will fall into place for you. It was ingrained in school that you needed to go get a degree, otherwise you wouldn't be successful and you'd be working at McDonald's your whole life. Now, I'm not saying working at McDonald's is bad either. If that brings you joy and happiness and that's what you want to do, go for it. But don't fall into the traps of blindly following this checklist that everyone else has seemed to tell you is how things have to be done. Because I know, and in fact it's really interesting because most of the people that I mentor, they have the degrees. They have the wife and children or husband and children. They have the house. And they've bought into this thought that I followed the checklist. Why am I not happy? And then that's when they come to me. And usually, I've got nothing left to lose. I'm really unhappy. Can you help me? Person. And I love being that person. I love being the person to show and open up the world to this idea that it's not about following the checklist. It's about following what works for you. Which means to follow what works for you, you have to take risks. You have to determine what is your checklist in life. not what is somebody else's, which can be scary. It can be really, really scary to say, this path and checklist seems to be proven, even though it's not, but it seems like it's proven, whereas this path and checklist that I've made up myself is a risk. And what is my mom going to say? What is my best friend going to say? What is this group on Facebook going to say? And we get worried about not being able to please those people, and we push aside what we intuitively know is our checklist, and we go towards the checklist that somebody else has imposed for us. And sometimes, I know so many people who have been married for 20 years. Their kids have now left the nest, so they're empty nesters. They've worked in the same career, and they look back and they go, I followed the checklist of somebody else, and now I don't know who I am. And I need to figure out the checklist for myself. It happens. So, wherever you are at in your life today, instead of blindly following that checklist, go to school, get the degree, get married, buy the house, have the kids, and then what? Instead of blindly following that and expecting it to make you happy, I want to encourage you to stop looking to people please and start looking to please yourself. And what I mean by that is really figuring out and taking the risk on what you like, what you don't like. The vision for your life, not the vision someone else has put into place. Because when you can start to explore those options, and I'm not even saying go full bore all the way, I'm just saying explore those options. Explore the things that just get you giddy. Because when you can do that, you can start to create your own checklist, and you start to care a lot less about people pleasing and how it's going to be viewed if you don't finish your degree. But instead, you go and do something else, or you don't buy the house. Instead, you travel the world. The options and possibilities are endless here. And again, this is not saying there's a right and a wrong choice. This is not saying don't go to school and get a degree. This is not saying to go to school and get a degree. It's not saying to get married or to not, to have kids or to not, to have the house or to not. I don't think that's any of my business. But I do want to encourage you to make it your business how you live your life, instead of buying into this idea that if I follow these A, B, C, D, and E steps, everything will be fine and perfect and will fall into place. Because it's just not so. So whatever the checklist is that you've bought into versus whatever the checklist is that you need it to be, I just want you to start exploring those options for yourself and stop worrying about pleasing those other people. So I'm going to leave you with that today. I hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope you can explore what will work for you. And if you have any questions about this, I would be happy to answer them. So please feel free to reach out to me at happinessabound.com, Happiness Abound blog on Facebook, and happiness_abound on Instagram. I would be honored to answer any of your questions, comments, or concerns regarding this topic of the societal checklist and finding your own instead of people pleasing. So have a great day. Check that out, send me a message, and above everything else, remember, you are capable of happiness abound.